If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by retirement planning, the endless rules, the tax headaches, the decision points that could make or break your plan, there's something I want to show you today. It's a simple chart covering the critical ages to be aware of. This chart is not the holy grail, but it will hopefully help direct your energy and effort in the right direction. There are 9 ages, 9 specific points in time that help determine a lot about your retirement. They impact your taxes, your income, your healthcare costs, your investment strategy, even your withdrawal sequence. Now remember, managing your personal finances is like running a business. Even if you don't love diving into the numbers, you need to have a basic understanding of the numbers and the ages that are critical. We're not doctors, but we all still need to know some basics about our health to keep our health on track. The same holds true for your money and personal finances. When you can shift the math in your favor, you can create a better outcome for retirement. I'm Mike Colopy, founding partner and wealth advisor at Veracity Capital. I help executives, professionals, and those looking to retire with financial planning and investments. And today I'm going to go through the critical ages chart, the 9 milestones that can impact your retirement plan, your taxes, and your income. Let's dive right in. First is age 50. This is where 2 things happen. The catch-up contribution is available in your 401k. Nowadays, for high income earners, those catch-up contributions need to be Roth contributions. This is not necessarily a negative. This could be a very positive as you're building tax-free income. Now, it's not just about the catch-up contribution. The other thing that's common at age 50, this is where people really start thinking more seriously about retirement. It's great if you start before 50. The trends I see is 50 where it really kicks in. You're thinking more realistically about what retirement will look like. Your income is usually a bit higher. Your household is a little bit more developed, and kids are probably getting ready to set sail on their own, and your nest egg is really developed enough where financial planners, where we can really start looking at and forecasting out what the future is going to look like. We have a good idea of your earnings trajectory, and we have a strong understanding of your goals and the nest egg you've already built. So this is where we can start planning out the retirement decisions related to income, taxes, and the different timing rules that we'll go through here in a few minutes. But age 50 isn't just about saving more in the catch-up contribution. This age marks where a lot of folks get very serious about their retirement. They're in the thick of their careers. They're in their higher earning years. They generally have a nest egg that's pretty well built out already. Their family may be more developed, and retirement is becoming a reality. This is where planners can really start forecasting out one's retirement plan that includes their income, expenses, goals, and all the moving parts involved. So if you're in your 50s or several years out from retirement, this is the perfect time to start building a better understanding of what your expenses will look like in retirement and what your goals will be. Think about the phases, go-go years, which are early on when you first retire. You're very active during this time frame. Then there's the slow-go years, mid-retirement, where you're slowing down, not traveling with as much intensity. And then you have your no-go years later on when things really slow down. That's when we generally see a healthcare event might arise, but we are seeing expenses decrease. So when you hit that age 50, you have that catch-up contribution you can look at with your 401k. But number 2, more important, you really want to start thinking about mapping out the numbers for retirement and what that's going to look like for you and yours. Now, age 55, you actually have the option to withdraw early from your 401k accounts without the 10% penalty. So this is a big difference. When people are trying to retire early, there is a difference between age 52, 53, 54 versus 55. 55, you get that added benefit and flexibility of being able to do those penalty-free withdrawals. Now, there are some other nuances, a 72T election, which can let you take withdrawals even earlier than 55. That's not for today's discussion, and that's a little bit more complex. But what I would tell you is for those folks trying to retire early who have the bulk of their assets in 401k accounts, there can be some optionality, flexibility with withdrawals when you reach age 55. Now, moving on to 59 and a half, This is really the access age. This is when you're taking penalty-free retirement withdrawals from basically all of your retirement accounts. So you're not just relying on the 401k. If you have other IRA accounts or Roth accounts, you can tap into those. The real power here is strategic, though. Your investments need to align with your overall financial plan. We need to be taking the right amount of risk, seeking the right amount of return and growth based on our goals, our plan, our longevity, things like this. We also need to be thinking about now these Roth conversions. We have over a decade of years where we aren't forced to withdraw from our IRA accounts or our 401ks, but we can, and we can do Roth conversions if we're in a lower tax bracket. So this is pretty commonly a time where I see folks have a drop in income if they retired early, and now we can think about creating more Roth dollars. Now, age 62, this is another milestone because now you have access to Social Security. That's the earliest age you can claim it at. Now, just because you can claim it doesn't mean you actually should. If you claim early, it reduces your lifetime benefits and potentially your spouse's lifetime benefit if they're planning to draw from you. So it impacts your income, your taxes, sequencing of withdrawals, all sorts of things. 62 gives you access to take it. It doesn't necessarily mean you should. Go back and watch my Social Security video if you're curious to dive into more details on that, or feel free to book time with me directly. Moving on to age 65. This is the Medicare age, which is great because for those who retire early, healthcare is one of the largest and unexpected costs and burdens that folks run into. It's excessively expensive if you retire before Medicare for many folks, right? When you turn 65, you enroll in Medicare. Now you have what I would consider pretty reasonable, pretty positive healthcare coverage at a reasonable cost. Now, here's the thing. There's IRMA costs for Medicare Part B and Part D. So the costs of Medicare are impacted by what you had earned 2 years earlier. So when you're 65, they look back at what you earned when you were 63. That impacts the amount of premiums that you're paying for Medicare. So it is good to get ahead of that. Think ahead before you turn 65 to be prepared for what the costs might be. And if you've retired since the age of 63 and your earnings has dropped significantly, you can actually petition the IRMA surcharges and potentially have them reduced. That's something to consider if you retired near the age of 65. Now, also just out on the Medicare subject, there are a lot of people out there and resources and brokers who can help with enrollment. If it feels like a daunting task, don't be afraid to reach out to a broker, reach out to your network, try to find somebody that can help you enroll. Plenty of good folks out there do that, and I've seen a lot of success stories from it. Now, moving on to age 67, really, for most people nowadays, that's going to be your full retirement age for Social Security. There's a little variation there, but for many of the folks that are going to be watching this, the full retirement age is about age 67. Now, at full retirement age, if you start taking and claim your benefit, there is no reduction in your benefit amount. The earnings tests vanish, right? So if you claim your Social Security early at age 62 through 66 and you have earnings because you're working, it's possible some of your Social Security benefit will actually be withheld. That sort of complication goes out the window at age 67. So planning gets a lot more flexible. But honestly, full retirement age, it matters less than people think. The real question is about optimally timing when to take Social Security. There's no crystal ball. None of us know how long we're going to live, so it's a little bit challenging. But there are some impacts based on your longevity, based on your marital or spouse situation. If someone's going to claim off your benefit, that can absolutely impact the timing of Social Security. But 67 is one of the most common ages where we see people start drawing on their Social Security. And then we'll stick to it, jump to age 70. That's the max age when you can claim Social Security. So another milestone age at age 70. This is the latest you can claim your benefit or delay your benefit to. So that is when you'll have the maximum amount of a Social Security benefit. Now, delaying your benefit, it can boost your lifetime income. It can reduce longevity risk. It can improve the survivor benefit potentially. It can cut down on portfolio withdrawals later in life. There's a lot of positives to it. But the key isn't just blindly delaying until age 70. It's really thinking about all the moving parts in your plan, where else you can draw income from. What do your taxes look like? What does your longevity look like? What is your spousal situation? Those are all going to be the factors that play into the right timing of Social Security. 70 is just the latest age, at least as of today in 2026. It's the latest age you can actually claim Social Security. Now we'll jump to age 73 and blend it into age 75. There are required minimum distributions. The IRS basically requires that we take money out of our tax deferred accounts at our age of RMDs. Depending on when you're born, that age will be from 73 to age 75. And I'm going to talk and use the example of 75 right here. So when you hit this required minimum distribution age, you'll have to pull a certain amount out of your tax deferred accounts, which would be, potentially 401k, IRAs, rollover IRAs. And that money, if it's not in a Roth account, right, that money is going to be taxed as ordinary income. And some folks can see that when required minimum distributions come on, they actually shift upwards in tax brackets, sometimes meaningfully higher. It can impact their tax bracket. It can impact IRMA, those surcharges on Medicare Part B and D. It can have all sorts of impacts. So we really want to be thinking about this 73 to 75 age timeline well in advance to see if we can do Roth conversions or just strategic distributions when we're in a lower tax bracket, taking money out to use that for spending purposes. The ultimate goal is to really have a more level tax bracket during retirement, as opposed to being really low and then really high, or really high and really low. We want to take advantage and try to smooth out retirement tax bracket variability. Now, when we move on to the next milestone, it's age 80, and we'll call this the longevity risk zone. This is the phase most people underestimate. Your 80s bring higher healthcare spending, more sensitivity really to market volatility, greater chance of outliving your assets, heavier reliance on guaranteed income, commonly, not always, and just the risk of these cognitive declines that affect your decision making. So the earlier choices can really impact you at this point in life because you need to have at least a comfortable nest egg and income stream to help protect from some of those unknowns that happen during the no-go years of your life, where healthcare again can be a heavy burden. Now, why do these 9 ages matter so much, these 9 stages? It's not just the rules or the timing of each one, it's that they all impact one another. A move at age 55 really ripples into a move at age 62, 65, and so on. They're all interconnected because of income and taxes. What happens in your 50s really can impact what's happening in your 80s. And this is why we say the sooner you start, the better from planning out retirement. No plan ever goes perfectly according to plan, right? But having that plan down on paper, understanding these timelines can make it much easier as you proceed into retirement. So think through a few of these timeline items, these critical ages. When do you want to retire? How much do you think you'll need to live on? That's a really tough question. What accounts do you think you're going to withdraw from? Your taxable brokerage, your 401k, your Roth, etc. When do you think you want to turn on Social Security? You've got to think about your situation with your spouse. And then really, what are you going to do about your tax deferred accounts when you hit your required minimum distribution age? How can you navigate leading up to those years? This has been all about the finances here, but we all know retirement success is also tied to health. It's tied to community. It's tied to purpose, right? So when we're also thinking about retirement planning, keep in mind those go, slow go, and no-go years. What are you going to be doing? What's fulfilling? What's your purpose? All those different things are going to really matter beyond just the numbers. But when you have the numbers in place and you have a plan, you can use your energy and attention to focus more on the health, the community, the purpose, and all those things you really want to spend your time doing. That's why I think getting ahead on planning really helps folks with peace of mind. And with that said, I'm Mike Colopy again with Veracity Capital. If you found this video helpful, if you'd like to talk in more detail about your own personal situation, feel free to book time with me using the link below. I'll be happy to walk you through a sample financial plan and talk to you about your own personal situation. With that, take care, and I wish you well.